Alrighty, we're back for another video. More records have arrived today and yesterday and last weekend, whenever it was. Yeah, just got home for lunchtime, so got a bunch of records arrived on the doorstep today, one yesterday and a bunch that I picked up on a little trip away a couple of weekends now ago. So what are we now? We're first week of November. Wow, where has this year gone? Another mammoth year of vinyl collecting. I have no idea how many records I bought this year, but a bloody lot, and I've got more on the way. I just scored a Trade Me purchase just a couple of days ago, an auction on Trade Me for 15 records of experimental noise. Only one New Zealand record in that collection, sold by a New Zealand artist who does that sort of music himself. He has been cleaning out his collection apparently of double ups and stuff like that. I can't tell you much about it just now, but when the records arrive I will be making a video in relation to that. But most of the music I'd never heard of, but did a wee bit of research online and it looked inviting, and I picked it up for pretty damn cheap. So yeah, looking forward to getting that. And got a bunch coming over via Discogs from the United States soon too. Anyway, let me move myself so you can see this. Right, so what is playing now in the background, and this is the first listen I've had of it, is Sulphate. This is fresh out from Flying Out on Prison Tapes. And I think the guy's name is Peter Roddus. I'm only guessing, but I understand that he is one of the members of a band called the Wax Chattels. And the Wax Chattels are a really, really cool band that of sort of alternative type music that played. I actually saw them live here a while back, and their first album, which came out late last year, is a particularly good record. So as you can hear, it's quite sort of drony and grungy and that, so yeah, looking forward to getting the hang of that, used to that. I picked it up, I think, was that on sale? There was a sale going on Flying Out for Halloween, so I took advantage of that, and this is the other one I picked up from the Halloween sale that has been on my radar for a while. This is a reissue on Sony Music from earlier this year, I believe. To be honest, I have seen the original EP in Penny Lane of this, and I never got around to picking it up. So this is an expanded version, so it's basically got the original EP that Darcy put out and then expanded to a bunch of live tracks. So Darcy didn't put a lot of music out. Unfortunately, he took his own life, I believe, quite some time ago. This was originally released in the 1990s, I think. Very interesting cover version of Jolene and English Rose on this record. So yeah, I knew, Jesus I Was Evil was the song that he was famous for, which is pretty cool, but I didn't really know much more about him. And also finally arrived today is this one here. Ben Woods, his LP Put. Now Ben's a local lad from Christchurch. I've seen him play 3 or 4 times, and most recently he was supporting Aldous Harding when I saw her play here, and to be honest, that was the best concert I'd seen him do. There's not a lot of, there's actually at the moment there is not a lot of Christchurch bands releasing music on vinyl. This is one of the few releases this year. I understand the Purple Pilgrims album that I picked up earlier, they were originally from Christchurch. I don't think they're there now. This is on Melted Ice Cream, and yeah, I've seen Ben play, and I've seen and Anita Clark had played with them live, and I've seen him play 2 or 3 times, and he had a track on the 6 Smashes from Arson City CD, which Melted Ice Cream put out last year, which is a fantastic CD, a compilation of Christchurch music, a lot of them on Melted Ice Cream and that kind of scene. And I've seen a lot of those bands live now in that little scene and that little group, and they're really cool. To be honest, Ben's music, I kind of never really connected with it too much It's always, apart from that one song, which is really good, which is called Lozenge, I believe, which is on here. But yeah, the rest of his music I was a little bit iffy about, and I decided to give the record a go, because the last time I saw him play with supporting elders, I actually thought there was a lot better than I had seen it in the past, actually, so I was quite impressed. Yesterday this turned up. Now this is a quite rare New Zealand album from 1976, I think. Corbin Simpson. Strange Records, Express Transit, I think the record is called. Got this reasonably cheap. It sells for well into 3 figures if you can find a good copy of it. It does come up on the Trade Me. I got it for, well, the guy had been trying to sell it for $75. Well, that was the minimum bid on it, or you could buy it for $85. And I thought, well, I'm not going down that track. A lot of people had been watching it, but no one was willing to take the plunge, and mainly because of this big rip on the bottom of it. So there's a piece missing off the corner. Apart from that, the cover is actually in good nick. There's a few little creases and a bit of ring wear, as you can see, but that's fine. The vinyl was rated very good, and yes, when you look at it, it has got a few vague marks. But I played it yesterday, and actually the wife was really impressed. She liked it. Yeah, I didn't hear a lot of surface noise, and I haven't actually cleaned it yet. I just played it on the little stereo, not on my big one. So yeah, I'm really pleased to have this, and for my 1970s New Zealand music collection. Right, the next lot. We were down in Cromwell a couple of weekends ago to see Lynn's mum, my mother-in-law, and it was her brother's birthday, so they had a bit of a do-on down there at his place, so a bit of a barbecue and things, and the wife talked me into going down to the local recycling centre in Alexander, which is about sort of 40 k's from Cromwell. So we went out for lunch, took her mum out for lunch at Clyde, in a beautiful little old 150-year-old hotel, which is converted into a cafe. It had lunch there, and then went on to the dump, or to the recycle centre. And they had quite a big collection of records, and we actually brought some for a change. So, I mean, it's the usual stuff there, the usual dross, to be honest. But I did pick up these lot, and to be honest, I got 5 records for $2. So I'll give them a go. So this compilation, Disco Fever on K-Tel, 2 record set in pretty good condition, actually, to be honest. So I bought this because there's some interesting stuff on here. There is a Donna Summer track, Love to Love You Baby. There is, what was that other one? It Should Have Been Me, Yvonne Fair. I knew that song, that's quite cool. What was the other track on here? Young Hearts Run Free, Candy Staten. That's a cool song. But yeah, there's some good songs on this, amongst all the other rubbish, but I don't know what the story is. I remember those songs having a bit more oomph to them and a bit more passion to them. And it's almost like they've kind of remastered them for this. I mean, K-Tel Records is a really middle of the road kind of reissue compilation label that did a lot of cheap shit, really. And yeah, it's a little bit disappointing because there is some good stuff on here, but it just sounds like it's been butchered and made into sort of some tame elevator music. So yeah, a bit disappointed. Anyway, this one's pretty cool. The Modern Jazz Quartet, Pyramid. This is from 1962, I believe. This is a New Zealand issue on his Master's Voice, and it's originally on London, and there is nice thick vinyl that they used to put out in those days. Is that upside down? Sorry. Yeah. It cleaned up pretty nicely. There is a bit of surface noise on it, but it's actually not a bad little record. It's pretty mellow sort of jazz. It's nothing revolutionary or out there or anything like that. Milt Jackson, I think, is the lead there. There is track by Ray Brown, Duke Ellington track, Yeah, so yeah. Anyway, I've been reasonably. It's not the sort of jazz I want to listen to a lot. It is pretty laid back, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Not bad for 40 cents. This one here is quite interesting, and I picked this up because it is New Zealand. The Cockatoo Band on tour. I believe this is from 1971 on Kiwi Records. As you can see in the cover, they're a bloody big band, and basically they are kind of an amateur band from the west coast of New Zealand. Been going since 1910, and I mean it's all kind of cover versions of Pick Up Your Troubles. My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean, Morningtown Ride, etc. So you kind of get the feel for that, but it's done in this kind of hillbilly, big band, brassy kind of band sort of way, and it's quite chaotic sounding actually. And I don't know, it's not something I listen to not a lot, but it was actually quite intriguing music. Yeah, pretty bizarre. And the band is still going today. As a matter of fact, someone on Facebook said that the band were playing at the Hokitika Wild Foods Festival earlier this year, and they still dress like this. They dress in those red and white pants. It's some sort of miner's pants, and they tie their knees. And apparently this guy said that they turned up dressed as the same way in imitation of the band, which confused a lot of people. I had no idea what this record was, but it looked kind of interesting. Ringy Rado McDermott, Disinherited. So I looked it up on Discogs, had a quick listen to it, sounded reasonably interesting, was listed as jazzy funk. It is kind of like a musical of some sort. I had listened to it, yeah, and it is funky-ish, and it is kind of jazzy from the early 70s. I don't know, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't, riveting or anything like that. It was okay, but, I mean, maybe a few more listens I might like it a bit more, or not, I'll probably just have to flick it off. And the last one, I've finally got my hands on a copy of this, Golden Rata Award hits from 1973, a compilation of New Zealand music, 20 tracks here. These were all the finalists, I believe, on that year of the Golden Rata Awards, so they were all the nominations. This is actually a carry-on, I believe, of the Loxine compilations, which I have the 3 volumes that came out from 1970, 71, 72. And this is the same sort of thing. There are actually more tracks on this one. It's a mix of stuff. Some of it's pretty commercial and not very good, but there are some fantastically good tracks on here. And interestingly, there's a track called Running to the Sea by Corbin Simpson, whose record I just showed you before. The track Running to the Sea is not on that record of his. That record actually has mostly cover versions, and particularly Van Morrison and stuff like that, but he does do a couple of originals. I think his next record he did a lot more originals, but he's a great talent. Is or was, I think he's still around. So yeah, 20 tracks on this. It's not the best condition. I've been meaning to pick a copy of. I do see it around a little bit, and for not cheap, for not too dear, $5 to $10. But to get it for 40 cents, okay, can't complain. It's got Shona Lang's 1905, which is a fantastic song. That when she was a young Joni Mitchell acolyte kind of person who was obviously influenced by her. And then, of course, Quincy Conserve, Keep On Pushing. I've shown a couple of Quincy Conserve records. It's got this terrible song by a lady called Anna Lee called The Love Bug, which I knew instantly. I heard it from my childhood. I obviously got a lot of radio play. It's one of those horrible little twee, poppy, yucky, catchy songs that get into your brain, and I couldn't get it out for several days. So I'll have to be careful not to play that one again. And then things... And then Ticket on the last side of things, another Shona Lang track, and so again a mix of good and not so interesting stuff. But overall it's actually not a bad compilation. So yeah, that's me for another video, another bunch of records, and there are plenty more coming before Christmas. So you're looking forward to getting those 15 experimental records, which hopefully will arrive later on next week once the guy gets to the post office to post them. So, okay, happy vinyl hunting, and I better go back to work. Cheers.